Hi guys, Keith, Arkenberg Farms. It's about mid-May now. Our heat wave has finally broke. It has just been ridiculously hot and windy. And look, today it is like a normal temperature. And listen, no wind. You can actually hear the birds out here chirping. Really, really nice. So, now I need to really get stuff in gear. It's that time of season when everything on the farm happens to be all happening at once. So this is one chore that I've been neglecting out here, which is the U-pick out here. I did actually get out here last night and I got it mowed, but last year I used this really thin ground cloth down here, which needs to come up, and I've got 2 runs of drip irrigation everywhere. So what I need to do is get the drip irrigation off here first, and then I'm going to put it back eventually with plastic mulch, with the plastic layer like I've done over with the onions. So let me show you. So what I basically have found is that I'm only going to use half as much drip line, and I want to reuse these drip lines, so I need to get them pulled up off the bed. What I'm going to work on is some way to spool them, something I can use handheld, crank it up. I think I have a solution. I've got something very similar over in my tool shed, but I think I have a way to get this to work. So we're going to head back over to the pack building and kind of show you what my idea is and start working on it, and hopefully we can get this to work, because if it does, it's gonna be awesome. So here we go. So went over to the cheap Chinese tool store and got this. It's for an air hose. It's a reeler. You reel your air hose back in, you take it back out. I think possibly this is gonna work for me. I'm gonna have to do some modification. I'm gonna have to take off, get the glare off there. I'm gonna have to take off some of the wings off the side so I can take the coil off. I hope to be able to mount it on one side and not through the center. And if not, I'm gonna have to do plan B. But first, let's open this up, see what we gotta deal with, and kind of go from there. Okay, let's open this baby up and see what we're working with here. Well, it doesn't look too bad. Parts and pieces. These are the things that hold the hose that wraps around, so it's going to be what goes on the drip line. I'm going to cut off one side, that way I can take the line after it's looped up and slide it off. It's like this baby's already pre-assembled, so I might have to do something here. I'll have to see what I've got going here. It's like I've got a tensioner so it doesn't reel too much. Like I said, the trick is, if I've got these on here and I cut this off, I'll be able to get my spool off, but it's going to get caught right here. So I have to either find a way to make this to where I can either hinge it, or I need to get this to mount to the outside, which might actually be somewhat of a problem looking at this thing. Yeah, and that's it. I got directions. Four things of bolts. So I'm going to take a second, wrap my head around this, and I'll come back and see what I figured out. So this looks like the basic way it's going to be put together. I mean, not much to it. 2 bolts, each of those, 1 bolt on the handle. Nice thing is, they gave me this silly little wrench to put it together, but all of these bolts are Allen bolts with round heads on them. They didn't give me the Allen key. Luckily enough, I've got stuff to put it together with. It also looks like where the mounting hole is on the bottom, I'm gonna have to leave this thing center mounted without doing major modification to it, which I don't want to do. So what I'm gonna do is, it's about 1.5 inches is where these holes are. I'm gonna cut this off here, and then I'm gonna take this and bend it out. The reason that's 1.5 inches is what I'm looking at that as a number is because a piece of wood is about 1.5 inches. I'm gonna eventually mount this to a piece of wood, and where this comes down, I want to be able to mount it, well, not mount it to something, but have it go to the side. That way I can crank it, and then when I'm full, I can take the spool, slide it off, and then this will pivot out so I can take it out, and then I can slide it back and have it secure so I can start cranking on the next ones. I'll also be able to tell possibly if this thing's secure enough without this side when I do this first cut across here. But I want to ensure that I cut this in the right spot first, if I need it or if I don't need it, but we'll find out. So from here, we're gonna cut these bad boys down. I'm gonna take this side off completely, and then I'm gonna cut this across here. Handles on this side. This is the side that's going to pivot, hopefully. So to make these cuts, I'm just gonna use a standard angle grinder with a cutoff disc on it and make my cut. Not perfect. I'm going to take this with a hammer and knock this thing flat. Now that I got this piece nice and flat, trim these little guys. I'm just taking one side off. It doesn't particularly matter which one because it's pretty much symmetric all the way around. So now that I got all my parts modified, got my side piece, each of the real pieces, I've got them all 4 lined up here, and the other part, I want to knock off any of these sharp corners and edges because those are just asking to cut yourself. I got the same thing down here on the reel. So I just switched over blades on my grinder, and I'm just going to go through and round over the edges and knock off any sharp points. So somewhere in there we lost video. I'm not sure what exactly happened. But what I did was I couldn't find 2x4 or a 2x6 or 2x8. So I took 2 2x4s, mounted a piece of siding that I could then mount this whole rig to. I went through and installed the pieces that coil, which amazingly enough, they not only shorted me the Allen key, but they also shorted me another bolt, so I'm missing one there. I reinstalled the clip on the side to hold this end piece on. And then finally, the only other thing left to do is this moves around all over the place. I want to at least have it somewhat know where its home is. So I'm just going to drive a couple screws right where those notches were. I'll give it something to rest on. That's originally where the holes to mount it were. That's where I did my cut at, was through the edge of those. So there we go. I mean, looks like I could reel just fine. And then when I'm done, take my coil over, and then I'll be able to slip it off of here. So we'll do some shots around this thing, and then we'll take it out in the field and see how it works, and hope it works. So here it is in all of its glory. Pretty simple. We just cut off the extra wings so we can get what we wind up off of it. Down here, cut where the notches were. That enables us to pivot and pull our roll off. And I put a little extra in the back here to give me something to stand on as we're reeling. That way it doesn't want to fall over or kick over. Nice little $20 reeler. So here is the first test run. I'm going to run it up underneath, and I've got where it's been clamped off at the end here. I'm going to put that over the top of something. I've got it disconnected at the other end. And we just start reeling it. And it's being a little bit of a booger, but this line's all gummed up underneath all kinds of junk. There we go. Now this might actually prove to be a little bit hard to take off this reel. Because it's so tight. There we go, now the tension's off. There's a lot of grass and junk over the top of this, and that's why it's so tight. So here's the point where I figured I was going to have the biggest problem. Okay, so now I should be able to take it. Remember how I said this was tight? I can really feel how tight it is now. What I think I want to do before I go any further, brought my tape out. I'm going to wrap it. That way my coil is contained. Do that in 2 spots. Not as pretty as I would have liked, but hey, it's the first run. Remember I said that really was tight down there, so it really put some tension on it. That's going to prove to be the hardest point of this. So now I've got to get it past the edge of this. There we go. So now we're off, and this is where this part had to be detachable so I can get this off. Okay, we will try that again, not on this bed. This bed has a lot of grass on top of it, and that's what was holding it. It's actually putting tension on it that way. We'll go over here to, say this one, where there's nothing involved, and we'll see how it works that time. While using that, I had to make 2 slight modifications. The first one being the snap ring popped off, so I just put this thing back on, which is actually where you plug your air hose in, but that keeps it from falling off the edge. Second, I added a board down here to make it to where this is a little bit more secure. It kept jumping off and coming sideways and causing problems. So with that down in there, it's a lot better now. So all in all, not bad for 20 bucks and about an hour's worth of work. And I was able to coil up all these, which you'll be able to see after the exit shot. So all in all, not bad. I've got to work on it a little bit. The main thing I don't like is this outside keeps wanting to fall off and move on me. I need to get a wing nut or something over there that I can just turn to tighten and loosen, because it is a little wobbly. But I mean, made a quick roll, very simple, easy. Made a much slower roll that's nice and flat, which I don't think there's any advantage to doing that, except it looks cool. But I think that'll do the trick. Now, the real trick's gonna be getting it back on the plastic mulch layer so they'll lay back underneath the plastic mulch when I lay it. I think I might be able to get this to work for that. I think. But that's all for another day. Right now, I'm just gonna concentrate on getting the rest of these lines up, and that way this thing can get torn down the rest of the way, and pretty much, I'd hate to say call it a day, but go on to something else for the day. So hope y'all like what you saw today. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, looking for any spreadsheets, any other information, go over to arkhamburgfarms.com, scroll down the bottom. We've got a lot of cool stuff down there. A lot of it's free. There's also some pay-fors. They're all very cheap. Different farm management, fertilizer calculators, all kinds of good stuff. So until the next one, thank y'all. Have a good day.